Okay, here we go. In this video I'm going to show you how to use the described class construct or ability of RSpec. If you haven't done RSpec, it's a tool for testing Ruby code. So let me get you started by showing you the setup needed for this minimal setup example. Let's create a gem file with a specified source. Let's add these two gems are not really necessary for this demo, but you can kind of ignore the Rubocop. It's more for style fixing and linting. The only required gem you need to add is RSpec. Once you install RSpec and once you have installed bundle on your system, you can do a bundle install bin stubs, which will create bin folder with RSpec in it so that you can run it like that, bin RSpec. And in this case, just to demonstrate how this works, you can run that test you just wrote like that. Easy enough. Now let's look over at a class that I created for demonstration called cookie.rb. It's in a module called restaurant, and in Ruby a module is a way to create shared code, so you can include the cookie class in other classes and get the bake method for free without having to rewrite it. Anyway, it's not really important for this demo, but the important part is there's a class called cookie which has a method called bake, which takes an argument time. The only line in the bake method is a print to the standard error that prints baking cookie for whatever minutes. In our test, we'd like to assert that this print happens. Okay, so let's switch over to our test file. In here, you can see I'm requiring the cookie with the relative path in this case, which allows me now to write a RSpec that looks like this. Let's go follow this through. I have a describe or an example group here with RSpec that sets up your entire test. The argument you pass to describe is a class that you refer to in this test as restaurant : cookie, following the module : class syntax. You start a test block. In the test, RSpec allows you to do things before running each test. So in the before, we're setting up what's called a mock in RSpec. Basically, this line allow stderr to followed by receive a puts is a statement that mocks the method puts on the object stderr that's available in Ruby. What this means is that if this is invoked in your test, then we are able to verify this mock later to see if it received the puts. Let's see how that goes. The it here is a test that has a title, print cookie time, and has a block. In the block, the main point of this course, video, was to show you how described class works. So in RSpec, when I pass a class like this, restaurant cookie to describe, you can refer to it as described class instead of repeating the class like that. That's all described classes. Now this isn't looking very useful in this one example, but imagine you had a bazillion of these, and imagine this was a pretty long string with embedded modules and stuff like that. It could end up looking like Boston restaurant, or I don't know, USA, Boston, stuff like that. You don't want to have to repeat all this all the time. So RSpec lets you cleanly refer to it as described class. Remember, it's the class, not the instance. So you still have to instantiate the object. In this case, I'm doing it with a new, and I'm invoking the bake method on it with 10. The next line is a fairly straightforward or standard RSpec statement that says expect that object that we mocked to have received puts. Have received is a expectation matcher, I believe is what it's called in RSpec, that can be given any arguments that it needs. In this case, we want it to say it must have received this method called puts. Now, it's not enough to say that it was called. Let's be more specific and say it must have been called with this specific string in it. And you can see when I run this test, passes. Now let's make the test fail by calling it with a different number than 10. And if you look near the bottom of the screen here, you can see that it has failed, which is good for us to learn. As you can see, RSpec clearly tells you that it expected baking cookie for 10 minutes, but it got baking cookie for 0 minutes. In standard TDD style, you would have started with a failing test and then you fix it like that and then run again. Now you are passing. So that's described class in RSpec. Thank you for watching.